That Matters podcast presented by The Outer Loop, where we create a space to explore the question, what are we here to do? My name is Melissa Wilson. I'm the marketing director and Inter Enso facilitator of The Outer Loop. And who are you? What do you do?
I am Michael Herman, and I am the founder and managing director of The Outer Loop.
Amazing. And is there anyone here that we can't see?
Oh, hello. Who is that? Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Rachael Yoder, and I am the artistic director of the Outer Loop Theater Experience, and I am producing this episode, so you cannot see me, but you can hear me.
Amazing.
Wild.
Creepy.
She's always with us.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Good. Awesome. Michael, do you have a game for us today?
I do. We're going to play 5 things.
Great.
And 5 things comes from theater and improv, where one of us throws out, hey, list 5 things that blah, blah, blah. And the other person has to answer without knowing. And the way we change that for our sake, for the podcast, is just to hopefully make it a little more relevant to what we do in this episode, stuff like that, if we can.
Sweet. Okay. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You choose.
Okay. I'll give you my category.
Okay.
Tell me 5 things that you shouldn't do in Tanzania that you learned the hard way.
I have to redo mine. 5 things you shouldn't do in Tanzania that I learned the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little cheating for you, isn't it? It's a nice little way to cheat for the trip for the summer.
Yeah, I'm actually taking notes, right?
Right. 5 things you shouldn't do in Tanzania. You shouldn't ever, that I learned the hard way. Yeah. You shouldn't ever go to Tanzania in our winter, which is their summer. So never go to Tanzania in like February, March, April. You will regret it. Mostly because it's a hot like you can never imagine, a humidity like you can never imagine, and more mosquitoes than you think are possible.
Fun. Another
thing that you shouldn't do that I learned the hard way. You shouldn't, this is serious, you shouldn't, especially because we all carry around, cameras in our phones now, you shouldn't take pictures of people and places without asking permission. Certain, just we do that, we get so used to it here and comfortable doing it all the time, but yeah, just culturally a little different, environment there, so you want to make sure it's cool. You shouldn't forget to bring sunscreen. Especially some folks that maybe we can't see right now, but are listening and are those kinds of people. That was what, 3? You shouldn't pack a lot of stuff. You should pack light, because you're gonna be moving around a lot, and you don't want it to be a hassle to like move your stuff from place to place.
Sure. And
the last thing you don't want to do that I learned the hard way is woof. I'll give you the really short version. Maybe one day we'll get into the long one. Don't ever in the rainy season leave your lights on at sunset in the place you're staying. You will come back in the dark to an infestation of every flying bug that has ever existed in Tanzania for all of time. And we'll leave it at that for now. And maybe one day Rachael can give you the rest of that story.
One day I will give you the rest of that. And I also just have to say, because I cannot resist, don't try to pet a sleeping elephant.
Oh, yeah.
We learned that the hard way.
We did learn that the hard way. More on that after the break.
Great. But you lived to tell the tale.
Barely. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Definitely don't don't pet a sleeping elephant. Ever.
Great.
Yeah. Those are my things. That was great. That was a good category.
Okay, cool.
What's yours? Should I give you mine? Yeah. Give me 5 things that you can't wait to do or see this summer in Tanzania?
Oh. Okay, I'm just so excited to meet all these people that I've been hearing about and emailing with and all these sorts of things for 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah, to actually meet them. I am excited to just see it. I've seen so many pictures and all of that, and I think it just seems like a really beautiful place that I'm excited to see. I'm excited. I've never been part of the sort of devising process that happens while we're there, and so I'm really excited to just learn in that capacity. Um, I'm so excited. I just hate working remotely. And so I'm just excited to like have 3 weeks in person with you
Mm-hmm.
guys and other people. I think it'll be really
Yeah.
cool. Oh my gosh. And I'm also so excited for the documentary that's going to happen. That's another process that I is just like so foreign to me that
Yeah.
I am excited to sit there and learn from
Yeah.
Tiffany and Charles because it's going to be wild.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. All those
Yeah.
things the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Okay.
be awesome.
So these were great prompts to lead us into the topic of this
Yeah.
episode because we're going to be talking about the origins of the Humanity Project, which, if you're not familiar, the Humanity Project is the work that the Outer Loop does in Tanzania. So, yeah, Michael, tell us, how did you first get the idea to work in Tanzania? Where did that start?
Good question. I had always been drawn to Tanzania for some
Hmm.
unknown reason my whole life. There are certain parts of the world I've always been drawn to. Tanzania was one of them, had never made it there. And then in 2016, Rachel forwarded me like an email or some information about a company who it turned out to be a friend of mine's company who I went to grad school with. Um, they were doing a theater company trip, their own theater company trip to Tanzania, and they were looking for directors to go and work with them. And I was like, this is too much of a coincidence. I know this person who was
Right.
one of the founders of the company, and I want to go. And it was a rough time, like mentally for me. 2016 was a rough time, so
Mm.
I just wanted to get out of the US, and it was just like everything came together, and I decided to go. So I went with this other company and got to do some work that maybe was planted the seeds in my brain of what would become the empathy, become the Humanity Project.
Right. Yeah. So what was that like seed in your mind, both for you personally and then also for the community there? What kind of inspired you?
Yeah, so when I went with the other company, we traveled for 6 weeks around Tanzania, remote areas, city, islands, all over, and we wound up in a really small remote village called Mloka. And I just felt from the moment we arrived in that village, I can't explain it, but I felt really plugged in
Hmm.
to the land, the people, just the location. Um, and then when I met Asha, who, for anyone who knows the story of the Humanity Project, was a woman who, you know, grew up in the village, lived in the village, and had a horrific birth experience where she lost a child in childbirth and nearly died herself. I met her and heard her story, which connected to the village's need for a maternity clinic so that these types of things didn't happen to women and to children on a regular basis. Um, the power of being able to take her story and devise a play, uh,
Hmm.
and then yeah, and be able to communicate that need to a larger audience. Um, that I think was the seed of it right there. And the company we were working with was awesome, but that's kind of where it stopped for them. It was like, hear the stories, get inspired by the stories of the place and the people, and devise a play.
Hmm.
And while that was cool and all, I felt that wasn't quite enough, and it wasn't what we were all capable of doing and should be doing. But that was definitely the seed of when it got, I started to have the idea.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're post trip, you're back in the US, right? Just like processing, okay, what is that? What does this mean for me? Did you think, like, when you came back initially, did you think that you were ever going to go back?
No, I definitely did not. That first trip was just like, cool, that was fun. This was great. Amazing, literally changed my life in terms of like refilled my hope tank back up. Felt like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, everything's going to be okay. I just needed to get out of the noise for a while. But then, sharing my experience in the story and the play with Rachael, um, and also reflecting on it and thinking, we can actually do something about this. It's not just about telling the story, Asha's story, and the village's need for a maternity clinic, but we could actually use this as, this play and the experience as a fundraiser to raise the money to actually go back and help build the clinic. And that could be the that's really what's supposed to happen here, I think. And it was, so to me, it seemed so doable, and I communicated that to Rachael after her seeing the show. We were sitting at a diner having, I think, like lunch or breakfast or something, and she saw the show, and I said, it's reasonable, we could do this, we could raise the money. And she said, we weren't married at the time, and she said, why don't we just get married and use the wedding as a fundraiser to raise the money and go back and do it? And I was like, did you just ask me to marry you? She said, maybe, yeah. I think, yeah, maybe we should do that. And it's funny because we both read it. She claims that wasn't a setup, which, to this day I'm not 100% sure, but let's go with that. It wasn't a setup. It was a great idea, and regardless. And so, yeah, we did that. We, really quickly planned a very low budget, no frills wedding, had everyone, did a registry, but the registry was about funding the clinic. And a month later, we raised double the goal.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we went back for 3 months on what we called our honeymoon to build the clinic with the village. And now there's a maternity clinic there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's kind of insane. It is kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wild. And um like, did you know, so you're there for 3 months. Did you realize during that time that you needed to go back, or was it not until after? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. So we finished the clinic, which again was incredible on its own. We get there, we do it. We're not builders, we're not doctors, we're theater makers and storytellers, and we just built a maternity clinic where women can now go give birth safely. And so that on its own was just, you're standing there going, how did this even happen?
Right.
But yeah, we kind of felt like, okay, good job, let's go back to the US. And the response from both the village and the community there was like, please come back again, please keep helping, don't let this be the only thing. We have a lot, of need here, and there can be other projects. This is great. And also the response from our donors and our, people who follow our work, audiences and folks that we've worked with over the years was probably even as strong, if not stronger. Let's keep doing this on this end too. You should keep going back, and we'll keep helping fund these projects. And suddenly we thought, wait a minute, yeah, maybe this is, because it's doing what we do with the Outer Loop, which is new work and stories, art that matters, and theater for social change. But it added this really important action component to it that you could physically see relatively quickly, right? All things considered, and you were making a real difference. And there was no way to replace that feeling. And it was, we joke that, and I say something like, I'll say right now, like, oh, it wasn't even that hard. And it was hard at the time, right? Like, it was hard, and it's always hard. But but not really, looking back, it's, now we've done it yet for so long. It wasn't that hard in the end. So we thought, maybe this is a thing that we do now. And 8 years later now, we do it every year.
It is definitely a thing that we do.
It
Yeah.
is 100%.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about that initial trip being a moment of life change for you.
Mm.
Can you just talk a little bit more about how the Humanity Project has played into your overall sense of purpose and personhood?
Yeah. In 2016, before that first trip, I was feeling really hopeless. I was feeling, with everything that was going on, especially in this country, very disconnected, that people had lost what it meant, what like being a human was, and the idea of humanity and our shared humanity, and that we're all connected, and empathy. There was this term that Obama used that I really latched onto, that there was this empathy deficit, and that, it felt like people had no longer understood what it meant to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand what it might feel like to be them or to be facing the challenges they're facing. And at that time, as we all know, it was just very divisive time, lots of hate, lots of, it was really, it was tough for a lot of folks. And we were living in New York City, which, amplifies a lot of that in a lot of ways. And yeah, I was at a low point, feeling like maybe this is just how it all is going to go, and it's just going to, be awful. And I went that first trip disconnected from all the noise, the technology, right? No cell phones, no power, no nothing. You're out in the village, you're just talking to people, sitting with people, eating with people. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, what language you speak. I sat for hours with an older woman in the village in Tanzania who, she didn't speak a word of English and I didn't speak a word at the time of Swahili. And we just sat there together for hours looking at the trees, and like, I felt like communicating, but nobody ever said anything, and it was like, that trip just really restored, what at the time was a very limited amount of faith in humanity and an ability for everyone to empathize. And it's kind of, it's such a strange thing to say, but someone in me at the time who felt like that was lost and gone, then my purpose becomes telling stories and creating change based on telling those stories to help people revisit, renew their sense of humanity and empathy. And and that's what, we've been doing ever as a company, in part, ever since then, right? The Humanity Project develops out of that. The Empathy Project develops out of that. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. So then you've been going for is this your eighth time?
I think this will be our 8th year. I've probably gone, there were some years where I went twice. So it's our 8th year, probably my, I don't know, 12th, 11th or 12th trip. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'm sure there's thousands of stories, but if you had to pick one that's like a favorite story from the last 8 years, what would you say?
I'm sure Rachel's listening too. I'm sure she's saying in her head the same thing I'm saying, which you said out loud, but bears emphasizing. It's almost impossible, right? Because there's so many amazing stories, really. But one that jumps to mind, which is relevant, I think, to the conversation, is Rachel's mother had, I think the second year we were there, Rachel's mother, who travels internationally a lot and does similar work to what we do, came to visit us in the village one summer. And we went, our guide and driver at the time, was not the same person it is today. And, we were in the safari car, all of us being driven to go see, with Patrick, Asha's husband, to go see some land that someone was trying to get us to buy, which happens a lot there. We're it's very far away. We're driving for hours in the middle of the bush, nothing really anywhere as far as the eye can see, just bush. And suddenly the car just stops. I'm like, what's going on? And Edgar, our driver, says, oh, we ran out of gas. And I said, oh, well, first of all, why? Because you always fill the car up before you go on a big drive like that. And second of all, no big deal, because there's always emergency 2 cans always in the car that should be full. So Edgar's a special person and an amazing person, but Edgar at the time was not really the most trained for this situation. And it turned out that we didn't have any reserve tanks either. So we're stuck, me, Rachel, and her mother, stuck in the middle of the bush between villages, so nothing around. Just like, what do we do? So they left us there. So Patrick and Edgar left us with the car, just sitting there, the 3 of us, and they went walking to wherever, like to the next village to try to get fuel. And then we're just sitting there for hours. We're just sitting there, like, what is going to happen? And, Rachel, it's not just Rachel and I, her mother's there too. So you feel like, oh my God. So a few hours later, this bus comes driving down the road that's heading out to the village. And the bus, which those buses go flying by, they don't stop for anything. But this bus saw us on the side of the road and pulled over as it passed us, pulled over and came over. And at that time, Patrick and Edgar were walking back, and they walked over and everybody's talking for a minute. And at the time, our Swahili wasn't great yet, so we don't know what's going on. And after a few minutes, we see someone on the bus like go down into under the bus, and they pull out a hose, and the driver siphons by mouth gas out of the bus into a little bucket that someone else had, and then they come over to our car and they put the hose in and they pour it, spilling everywhere because there's no funnel or anything, and they pour fuel into the car enough for us to get to the village to get fuel. And then they were like, have a good day, and they left. And we were both sitting there going, would that have happened in back home? Probably not, right? People would have gone by and watched it happen and figured you had AAA and you call them. This bus with full of passengers on its way out to people who were clearly, not from there, in us, just like, oh, cool, you guys need help? We'll pull over and we can help you. So we'll help you. And then I even I was like, at the time I didn't really know customs or whatever. So I went over and tried to give them money for it, to pay for it. And they were like, no, it's cool. We saw you needed help, and we could help. And that always just stuck with me. And I know it seems kind of like not a big deal of all the stories you thought I might tell about elephants and lions and whatever, but that just always really stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Humanity Project, and that is just
Right.
such a beautiful story of humanity. So I think that was
Right.
the perfect story to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after 8 years and thousands of amazing stories, what makes you excited to go this summer?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because it kind of comes up every year, and it's so amazing that this is true to say, because it sounds like a marketing phrase that I should say, and that Rachel and I should say every year, but we actually do say it, and we say it because we mean it. Every year we're more excited than the year before, which I know sounds ridiculous after everything we've done, but it's really true. Because every year we get to go back and see, there's more work that's been completed since the prior year, right? The project that we started last year is going to be complete this year. We're going to start another project that we don't even know what it is yet, that's going to become a project for next year. And that's every year, right? So you're always seeing the completion of the project from the year before, and you're starting a new one that you have no idea what it is before you go, which is super exciting for me. I know it probably freaks a lot of people out. Like, what? You don't know what you're going to do before you get there? No, we have no idea. And also, I think one of the most special things for me, and most, I don't know if I'd say exciting, but special, that I look forward to every year, is the relationships that we've formed over the years with people like Samuel and Kampande and Asha and Patrick and Edgar and Jackson and Fadeli and everyone, that we feel that, not just feel like we are family now, like I don't have any siblings and Samuel is absolutely my brother, and the relationships every year just get deepened, more and more and more. And we feel like, so I always talk about how I just feel like I'm home when I'm there. Like every time, the second I land, it's become a thing that every time I always go ahead of the group to set things up, and I land. And every single time for 8 years now, when Samuel picks me up at the airport and he sees me, the first thing he always says is "Welcome home." And that just always makes me, I know, like I feel, and I'm like, didn't ever make a comment that he should say that, right? He just knows that I feel that way, and that he, I think, feels that way for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just those, I don't mean to bring this conversation down, but like, and I don't think it will, but I just kind of say that jokingly. Like, I don't get that feeling a lot here. Like I don't feel it as often or as regularly or as deeply here as I do there. And I'm not suggesting it doesn't exist. I'm just saying my personal experience is that.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are, like, what are the specific things about going this year, at least of the things that we do know are happening, that you're excited about?
So one of the things you mentioned already is incredibly exciting, because we've been trying to do this for basically 8 years, and it's never been achievable or attainable, and it's going to happen this summer, is working with a professional film team to create a real feature-length, legit documentary about the work that we do, that we can then share widely with audiences all over the world, which is incredibly exciting and terrifying too, but exciting. And then so many things, but I guess the second one would be, the last year we had a surprise thing happen where we usually only do one project every year. We talk to the village, we do a project. We just happened to, in the moment, this wasn't planned. We were at the school doing what we normally do, which is just theater workshops. And we saw that the primary school's toilets had fallen down to the ground, had collapsed, and they didn't have bathrooms. And we asked what was up, and the kids told us that the bathrooms collapsed, so they don't have bathrooms now. Not like they collapsed and there's new ones coming. Just, no, we don't have bathrooms now, so we can't go to the bathroom. So we brought up the idea, like, since we're creating a play with you guys this week anyway, would it be interesting to tell that story in a play format? And then, I don't know, this likely was my insane idea, but I probably said something like, hey, let's just do 2 projects this year, and we'll do the big village one, and we can't tell like, how can you walk away from the kids, they need toilets?
Totally.
So we created a play with the kids playing, doing like why we need toilets for obvious reasons, but they were very specific. And we did 2 projects, and we raised the money at the end of the year last year to build the kids' new toilets. And that project is actually getting underway as we speak, and will be finishing up when we're there. So to me, to see that finished, but more importantly, to see the kids' faces when they know that it's because they spoke up and told the story that there's new toilets, therefore kind of communicating the power of theater and storytelling to enact real change. Like, for me to see the primary school kids get that and go, hey, we did that. And for the community to know the kids did that. That for me is like, that's going to be like, I don't know, it's going to get any better than that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it will, but that's up there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, I would love to go back to your coming home phrasing that you used a minute ago and just ask, I think, like, I have the little things when I go back to my childhood home that I'm like, oh, I'm excited to see this little thing or eat this specific thing that my mom cooks or whatever. Like, what's the little thing that you're like, oh, I can't wait to go home so that I can see this or eat this or whatever it is.
So many good answers. That's such a great question. In addition to one of the things that comes to mind, I already said, but it remains true to answer to this question also, is the arriving and Samwell saying welcome home. That's always like yeah. And then definitely um Mama Joyce, who's also Asha's name is also so Asha has many names, and we're the only people who call her Asha. Her name in the village is Mama Joyce because it's about who your child is and your relationship to the child. So she's Mama Joyce, and she makes, and she knows that it's my favorite thing in the world, but she cooks and she insists when we're there that she make this for me. She makes the most incredible from scratch, from nothing, coconut rice with these beans and like little onions and like stuff from the farm, and she just like cooks it like I think it takes all day because she starts cooking it in the morning, and then like we have it for dinner, and it's called mbwabwa na maharage, which is basically like coconut rice and beans. Oh, it's so good. It's just made with love and the earth and Mama Joyce's like just her spirit. And you can get it other places. It's not like you can't get that other places, but it doesn't taste like Mama Joyce's. So
Totally.
I'm really looking forward to a Mama Joyce meal.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that is a sweet way to wrap up this episode.
Absolutely. With Mama Joyce's food, for sure.
Yeah, it feels like the perfect end.
Absolutely.
To this. Yeah, thank you so much for just sharing about this journey, and I'm excited, I'm sure we'll continue to hear more about Humanity Project in other episodes, but I'm excited for our audience to get to hear a recap after we get back this summer of just all the wonderful things about the projects and just about being home for you. So
yeah, cool. Yeah. I'm excited to share it with you too, because I feel we take a lot of folks, we've taken a lot of folks over the years. And, I would say, 99% of the people we take really get it and really, just feel, inspired by it and really connected to what we're doing when we're there. And, I feel very strongly that you're going to be one of those people that feels, as strongly and connected to it as we do. And it's just going to be nice to share that with you too, because it's a special experience.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yeah. Okay, yay. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And you can catch a new episode every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, make sure you're following us on social media so you can be alerted for new episodes and also all the other fun things that we're doing. Specifically, while we're in Tanzania, there's going to be so many live pictures and videos and things of just like what's going on right now while we're there, so you will not to miss that.
For sure. And also, since we are talking about the Humanity Project, we are always accepting donations for our work there. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and none of our work happens, Humanity Project or otherwise, happens without our generous donors. So please feel free, if the project sounds interesting to you and you want to help out, you can check out more information on our website, and there's about 400 donate buttons all over our website, well placed, so you can donate to the Humanity Project or any of the Outer Loops work at our website.
Yeah, and what is our website?
That's a good point. outerlooptheater.org, and we spell theater THEATER, so outerlooptheater, one word, .org.
Amazing. Great distinction. All right. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you next Thursday.
See you next week, everyone. Thank
right,
you.
bye.
Bye.